Good afternoon from London. Today's Q&A is spelled incorrectly. Can I change that? Well, it's going to be an A and A. A and A 35. Online versus real-time intimacy. And yeah, as England, London especially, perhaps has been hiding from itself over the festive period, I thought it would be a nice time to attack this particular topic, which has been suggested before. So, the topic of online versus real time intimacy in the context of what I get up to. So, you've been submitting your questions from before. If you need to submit them now, feel free to do that from down below. So, let's go. So the question for this one, how do you hold the container similarly or differently between online versus real time? So I am guessing that this person suggests hold the container, meaning create the space for us to play or to play with the dynamic. And how do I do that online versus offline? I would say that I utilize similar tactics. However, there's probably more that I can pull off of when I share space with somebody. So there might be a little bit more of a disconnect, and there might be a little bit more preparation that needs to happen before and after. Whereas I can kind of go more on the fly with the multiple things that are given to me when somebody is sharing a space with me. So how do I hold that space similarly or differently? I have a very good sense of focus, and so I do not get distracted whether somebody is in front of me in real time or whether somebody's in front of me online. The difference is not necessarily so different. The whole world kind of dissolves around the connection, and so I find that very easy for me to step into. How it might be for other people, though, you get all your little notifications and all this kind of thing. I guess it's harder to control what other people are up to when it's just this kind of interaction. There's going to be all of these other things that are happening. So what may need to happen is that you use a different device only for your connection, where you tell them to not have all of those notifications, where it's a moment in time where it's only on the particular Skype screen, or however, in this way, when you don't have that physical control that you do over over them when in a real-time space. You can watch all the little things that they're getting up to. So I would say that maybe it just takes a little bit more planning in order to get a similar effect. And I may as well touch on the fact of how I see the similarities and the differences. I don't anymore practice only online connections. I definitely do a merging of it all. That said, I do have a website that kind of engages people online only, but that doesn't necessarily get my attention until they hit certain parameters. And so I prefer that big dig into somebody right in front of me to see how they feel, how they move in relation to me. That is kind of what captures my attention and excitement more so. And I use the online things as a generative aspect to expand on that. And I think that probably could go into some other questions from here. Yeah, and from the same person, how do you mark transitions similarly differently? So I guess this could speak to transition in and out of the dynamic in the play space. I do similar things when I come out of things, in that I will be checking in to see where people are at, and I like them to write a little bit of a check-in, a little bit of a journal entry when after our interactions have happened. That is similar. Differently, I would say that there would have to be a little bit more psychological build-up when it comes to online for me, just because, like I said, I can't control that space as much. Whereas keeping people a little bit in the unknown when it comes to real-time interactions is nice for me. I think the anticipation is gives it a little bit of grip, if that makes any sense. Yes. So, this is cute. I guess in a sense, this is, are you actually on Bumble? Yes, I am, but I'm not very active on there. Okay. Does it, oh, okay. So this one is probably from a private account, but the question is, does it take more or less time to build a relationship online? So I think it really depends on how you format things. So I would have thought that it would take more time to build something when you don't have the smell, the touch, the movement in space, the shared real-time experience together. That, however, has proven to not necessarily be the case because I've created this system where people are taken through courses and they get to understand the intricacies of how I like things done online. So actually, the people who go through those courses end up learning a lot about me that a lot of people who do know me real time take a lot more time to learn. So it really depends on how you purposefully induct people at a distance, I think. So that can kind of bridge that divide, and if not, support it, if not actually grow it in ways that you may not be used to doing in such a freeform environment that is real time. So I think there can be benefits depending on how you learn about how you operate and how you want to structure things and the closeness that you want to create. Yeah. So let's go down to the bottom. Let's delete a few of these that are nothing to do with online versus offline. And so let's do another one from this person. How do you hold or clear your energy similarly or differently to online versus real time? So this would probably be speaking to, I kind of talked about holding space already, so let's talk about clearing. So this would be for me, right? As opposed to checking in after care of someone else. I would say that when it comes to online exchanges in a session sense, I can more easily obviously kind of check out of that space, and I'm already in my home or my space, and it's kind of a quicker transition back to my personal being. However, when it comes to real time, I very much invest a lot of who I am, and so it can be quite an overtaking sensation when I spend time with somebody that it takes a lot more time for me to go back to my space, to do things for myself in my own ways and with only the thoughts of me and not about the thought of somebody in front of me and how that is going to work out. So how do I clear my energy? I think when it comes to just getting off the phone, it's much easier because I'm already in my space and I don't necessarily need to think about it so much. However, I do need to purposefully create time for myself after I have real-time interactions. That does not include even correspondence. Yeah. And then when we're talking about shorter online interactions, I am somebody who, if I need space, I take it, and I might not answer for days, and that is understood also amongst the people who have that access to me. And so that's kind of, I instinctively understand that if I get annoyed when something comes in, or if don't feel like engaging, I understand that I shouldn't, and I don't. So that's kind of how I manage things for myself in the smaller online interactions, such as getting messages and this kind of thing. Okay. Is play scheduled with online subs, or is it spontaneous? And how do you choose who gets your energy or time? So that kind of goes off the back of what I just mentioned, isn't it? But is it scheduled? I would say that the little pockets of things doesn't necessarily need to be scheduled as long as it's an ongoing arrangement. However, when it comes to, if you really want to have that headspace where you're going to start to move people's minds and you want to move the relationship, or you want to engage with something specific and things need to be prepared, and minds need to be prepped, and you also maybe need to understand where you want to start and where you might want to end with that session. That takes a little bit maybe less of a spontaneous edge that could happen when it's an ongoing relationship in real time, in my opinion, because you need to align a lot of different schedules and things that people need to prepare themselves, that they need to prepare that you can't help them with, and things like that. And how do I choose who gets my energy and my time? Well, I have an application process that is quite thorough, and I ask lots of things to do with me as opposed to them. I find that's better for my engagement, the interest level of my engagement. And once they kind of show me that they're listening to who I am as opposed to just pushing who they are on me, then there's a little bit of a process of inducting and slowly getting to know them. And they can continually gain my attention and my energy when they are investing that in the ways that I need as well. And I'm very clear about what those things are. So it just needs to always be a constant exchange. And I think that the quieter that I am with myself, the more that I can hear myself retaliate and say, no, this is not going to be for me. So I also listen to that as well when it comes to even the messaging that I was mentioning before. Yeah. It's something that you have to be very careful of, I think, when you are in the business of people. Your energy and your attention is your asset, and your personality and your state of mind is your asset. And of course this might be the case for all people, but I'm just talking about in the case of me and how I interact with my work. I would say that I need to look after that. And so thinking about the ways in which I react and how I need to be aware of when that goes awry, and how that will directly impact upon how much I can work. Therefore, it's this balance that is very important to be aware of. Some might call that work-life balance, some might call that self-care. However, I just see it as looking after my investment. Yeah, so let's see. Okay. What are the best discipline methods for a sub in a long-distance relationship, DS dynamic? I think this is going to be very individual for the different connections that you have, because people and their interests and how they react to things are going to be very different. For me, when people... mine is very simple. I really see my attention as my biggest asset, as the biggest thing I can give people. And I retract that. And I make it known why it's retracted. And I give them a time period, and I give as definitive a space as possible, so that there is some reliability, but also so that there is that space that I also get. And I think the people who are close to me, that lack of attention that they so crave is the best kind of form of solidifying the discipline, especially when you give a reasoning so that people can start to own it themselves, so that it's not just for discipline's sake, in my opinion, for me and how I run things. But everyone's going to be different. You can do things differently with different devices at a long range, etc. But for me, that's fun. for most of the people who I have. So, okay. I don't know. Is this so associated? What is the polite way to approach you if we've never met before and I want to say hi, online or offline or real time? Yeah, this has been happening more and more now that I've been getting out of my little bubble back in Bali and actually getting out into the different communities across the world again. And it's been a really, really lovely experience when people do approach me and they say why they may know of me or what it is about what I do. It's nice. It's quite sweet to hear feedback, and it's quite sweet to understand what is useful or not. Like, there was a point in time when I thought I would stop doing these Q&As. I mean, I've been doing them for months, for a few years now, and there's a lot of material out there, but people come up to me and they react and they say, how much these have been useful, and so I've continued. So, so the feedback in real time is very useful. And online, there's a lot of things that I miss because it's just crazy how much is in that extra inbox on here. So I basically almost never go in there. And you could try to email me in a polite way with a similar approach that's actually productive and interesting and engaging for me. Make it interesting for me, I guess. I appreciate just notes of gratitude, but I may not necessarily engage. There's a lot of correspondence, and I don't think that I have so much energy in order to expand because of the reasons that I mentioned before about how my energy is really the asset and the thing that I use to support myself. And so I need to be very careful where I place that. And unless you're really engaging with me in a way that's going to benefit that, then I'm not going to benefit you any further than all of this material already does. It's to some of you, and hopefully to the ones bothering to watch today. Okay, so let's see. I like this one. So I'll just do a couple more questions. Take me to 12:30. I've got lunch after this. But do you find online intimacy more time consuming? It sometimes feels like online play never ends. I guess this really depends on how you manage the beginning and the end of things, and how you manage people's expectations around them, and how you cut people off when they don't understand the boundaries of that. So I would say that doesn't necessarily have to be. The fact that people have access to these devices and they imagine that they have access to you because they can see you through these devices. In a sense, the play never ends for them, but it doesn't necessarily have to be the case for you. You need to decide where those boundaries lie for you and how you're going to apportion things. You could have a separate device just for those communications. You could have specific blocks set up on different times. You really have to manage it yourself if you feel like it's getting too much, because you're the only one who's going to be able to do that. When you're a freelancer, you just have to make sure that you have discipline on yourself and your boundaries, I believe. Yeah. So, there's lots of people who are going to be getting blocked. Let's see. All right, let's do one more, and then we might go to this one that's a little bit off topic. Do you prefer in person or online? I kind of touched on this before. There's a space for both, definitely. Personally, probably on a deep level, the rush that I get from in person because of all the input that I'm gathering from how people are moving and reacting, and the immediate thrill and the fact that they can't run away is very exciting for me, and so I enjoy that space probably more. However, I do find the courses that I've created and the online space and all the material that is there on me out there very useful in order to support those connections, or just to create enough of something for someone else to go off of. There may be people that I never necessarily meet, but who engage with the content that I've created, with the interviews that I've done, and it's given them something, and I think that's very valuable also. So it's different reasons, I guess, right? So, last question for today is off topic, but when will the shoot be out? I'm guessing that you mean the short film. Hopefully the edit will be done by the end of this month, and then it really depends on the production company when they want to release it. But definitely by next year, I'll probably be, maybe doing a little tour of it around the world. So catch you then in real time, somewhere near you, perhaps. But for now, enjoy all the online things that I've created, and thank you for engaging today with my 35th Q&A, online versus real-time intimacy. And I hope that you are getting enough of both. Bye.